Hey everyone, this is Billy, one of the founders and owner of Vivid Studios Entertainment. It has been brought to my attention that there's been a ton of confusion, skepticism, and mainly a lot of conflict regarding the forefront of our studio to the point where it is starting to become an issue and blemishing our image. And I want to take the time to address each and one of these issues and ensure that none of these conflicts ever resurface again in order to do what we love most, which is telling and creating stories. Now, with that said, we want to start off this statement with a heartfelt apology. We are very, very sorry that you had to witness what you witnessed. I want to let everyone know that I'm doing fine mentally, even though if it's not at a perfect standpoint, I still want everyone to know that my mental health is still being taken care of and that I don't have any intentions of self harm, I don't have any intentions to suicide, and that my mental health is once again being in check at the moment. So we heavily apologize for information provided or lack thereof. Now that said, we want to go ahead and cover the very first scandal. And by the way, this response is being recorded around 6 o'clock in the morning, so if my voice sounds dry or monotone, apologies for that as well. I'm pretty sure that's the least of your concerns though. But like I said, the first thing we want to go ahead and cover is the AI usage scandal. Now, if you are aware of this incident, you can go ahead and skip this section, but I still want to cover it just for the sake of addressing our forefront of our studio. The AI usage scandal consisted of us posting some AI artwork that was made with generating a prompt into ChatGPT, and while this was at first not clear to us, it was made clear to someone that did do an expose on a quote tweet that was made to our said post. And the post in question was actually teasing one of our upcoming indie horror games known as Alvin's Aqua Kingdom, which, for those who are wondering, is being canceled just for the sake of everything that's been happening lately. And we want to go ahead and postpone production on that project indefinitely just to not run into any more issues regarding that project. So that's the state of Alvin's Aqua Kingdom, and that is the AI usage scandal. We still want to heavily apologize on our behalf for having that image on the forefront of our Twitter page, and we believe that we should take absolute fault for that. Even though we didn't create the artwork ourselves, we still represent the image. And we are still heavily responsible for putting that on our Twitter page without double checking everything. So we heavily apologize for that. Now, the huge thing that we want to go ahead and address is the Kickstarter incident. So, back around a year ago, back in March, there was a Kickstarter for one of our projects. It was actually our very first project that debuted to the studio out of the box. And initially, we had raised 1,000. We actually met the goal. $1,200 was initially the goal for the Kickstarter program. However, there was a big donation that was made from one of my family members to where it was an $800 donation towards the Kickstarter. And as a result, that donation actually bounced, meaning that we didn't receive any of that big donation. And for those of you who don't know, Kickstarter campaigns are always all or nothing, meaning that if you don't raise the amount of money that is needed for a campaign, you don't receive any of the money. Although we had initially raised the money, we only received about $400 of that campaign. And all of that money was handled not by me, but by said family member who was able to monitor the funds that was made from that campaign. Now, I don't do really well with finances, which is why I gave it to someone else to handle the money. I gave responsibilities of handling the money to someone else, which was inevitably a huge mistake. That was initially something I should have taken care of myself, and there was just a ton of spiraling conflicts that happened from me not handling the money with my own control. Now, with that said, there's also been some confusion regarding our studio usage, which is in line with this Kickstarter incident. to where once the money was received to me at first, which again I gave it to someone else to handle with, they were responsible for the handling of the finances that was made from that Kickstarter quote that Kickstarter campaign. And as a result, there's been a ton of mismanaged funds that have been used to quote unquote rent the studio. And initially was supposed to be the plan to use for post production services and for music recording as well. But because the money was never initially used for any of the studio rental, that is what caused even more confusion to the point where we are now being accused of fraud. And we are not a studio with malicious intent. We don't intend to ever use finances for any criminal intent to the point where we can be charged federally. And like I said, even though I was not initially responsible for any of the finances and handling and all that good stuff, I still want to take the blame for it. I still want to take the absolute blame and be culpable of that because I could have handled the finances myself. And the reason why Shock City is even in the picture to begin with is because we were told that we were going to use that studio, but turns out the money was being used for commercialization instead. And when I say commercialization, I mean like merchandise, plushes, any merchandise that regarded out of the box. And a lot of production costs came up with that. And obviously, $400 for an indie animated web series is not going to be enough to produce a 7 episode series that was initially supposed to premiere on Prime Video. So that is all I can say. But when I say all I can say, I don't mean to say that's all I could say because I that's what I want to say. That's all I could say because that's all I know. So with that said, that is what I have to say to that. And like I said, we want to heavily apologize for everything that has been the forefront of our studio. We don't ever, like I said earlier, we don't want to have any, ever, we don't ever encourage the use of fraudulent behavior or AI artwork or anything for that matter. And as someone that does wholeheartedly represent the company and the brand of Vivid Studios Entertainment, I believe that there's been a ton of confusion and miscommunication. And on the terms of miscommunication, another thing I'm going to go ahead and tackle is the lack of communication. We are aware that there's been a lot of miscommunication going on with our employees. There's been a lot of miscommunication going on with the cast of our shows. And with that, the best I can say of that is that there's been a lot going on in my outside life. I've dealt with therapy, I've dealt with mental health inconsistencies, I've dealt with school, just a ton of life things getting in the way. And I know that's not an excusable reason to, not have communication point blank period with anyone in general. And it was not at all in my reach to ever cut in communication with anyone. We want to ensure that everyone is being respected for their time, their commitment, and everyone in general is being respected for their time. So, with that said, we also want to heavily apologize for the lack of communication and touching base with those who truly wanted to work with us. And with that said, there is going to be a lot more that I'm going to go ahead and cover in a document, which I will link in the description of the video. So I cannot be any more remorseful than I already am. I feel truly heartbroken for everything that's been happening. And I have nothing but the utmost respect and apologies for everyone that has been with us as a studio. Whether you were just a viewer, whether you were part of our community, whether you were an employee, or whether you were just someone that knows of Vivid Studios, we don't want this to be the face of our studio. We still want to continue doing what we love most, which is creating and telling stories. I know we said this, I know it's not like a broken record, but I still want to heavily apologize just for everything that has unfolded in general. You all deserve so much better from us, and you deserve a lot better from me. And I know you all are wondering what is going to happen moving forward. To that, I say I am going to take the time to recover and to rebuild my mental health to where it was before, to the point where I don't have another relapse and anything drastic happen to me. I want my mental health to be good and kept in check, and I want to take at least 3 weeks, if not a month, just to ensure that my mental health is on the right path again, to the point where I can say that I'm in a better state to run a production company. And if worse comes to worse, we will always have someone on the forefront to keep you guys posted on future updates, and someone that will do the communications. If I am not present, I want someone to be there that can speak on my behalf. Thank you all so much for listening, and we hope that you have a blessed day.